All right. Good evening, LinkedIn. Dave Wilson of the Ringer Hire Show, and I have the co-host Mary Anthony Hatzis. How you doing?
Awesome. How's it going?
It's hot in Pennsylvania, but I know you're in Florida, and I think you're what, about 95 to 100?
Gosh, yeah, we're suffering with the humidity too.
I I cannot even imagine. And like we are just talking here, it's crazy. But everybody thinks Florida is like the spot, right?
Yeah, they're building so many new bridges. Everyone's moving down. It's like, usually we have a little off season in the summer now, but it's just as busy as it would be peak season. So,
All right.
people are loving it.
That's good. All right. Tonight we have a great subject, and it's
Mhm.
micromanagers. It's always a hard subject, but it's a pain point for a lot of people. And we're going to
Mhm.
go over a lot of it tonight right after this video. So see you in a minute. Come on. What do you think?
We're at it again.
I love it. I told you for 20 some dollars, that was it. I love it. And I don't know,
Yeah.
15 minutes we had that baby made. 15 minutes.
Yeah, you're really good at finding these kind of talented people.
Oh, I love fever, fiber, whatever you want to call it. They're just great. And I get everybody. Well, we already got people coming
Mhm.
on tonight. Here's Rob. Hey, Rob, how you
There we
doing?
go.
Yeah, I know this is going to be a great subject for him. We got Vishnu in the house. He's been here on the last show.
Mhm. Yeah, it was. Great questions. I remember.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you remember Joel. I don't think Joel was on last time, but Joel's a great colleague also.
Awesome. Hi, Joel.
Oh my God! And I have the legendary in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the legendary Mr. Bill Brad. Bill, how the hell are you? Bill's big discussions and like the trade skills sets. He goes over there. So
Fantastic.
I have not seen, oh God. And then there had to be, here he comes, the main man. There he is, Kenny D. Tonight's conversation is so damn delectable, scrumptiously delicious. Kenny, I miss you. I tell you, you gotta connect with Kenny here. He's a piece of work.
I'm seeing all of his comments pop up with the same
Oh,
on
and then
my
we got
feed.
Mr. David. Hey, Dave, how you doing? All right. Whew. This show, I told you before, is near and dear to me. But micromanagement and micromanager, or whatever you want to call it, it really can affect an employee everywhere. Whatever,
Mhm.
I think, whatever career path, it wouldn't really matter what you're doing because micromanager
Right.
can really go out. Have you ever had problems with the micromanager?
I haven't personally, but I have seen a lot of people around me. I mean, close friends, partners who have dealt with it, and I mean, just with them having to deal with it, it affects me, and I'm not even the one who is in that position. I've seen. I know we were talking a little bit about how. I mean, I'm just amazed at how much having a micromanager affects not only your mental health but your physical health as well. I mean, that is astounding to how bad it can get.
Yeah, and they said a lot. I was reading on what's Rob here. Dave just jealous because he is on the better half of the state. Sorry, Dave. Oh, Michael, man, and Crystal, you are 1,000.
Yes.
You ever think you would use that word bullying?
No,
And
that's it's such a good word to use because I mean that's also a sensitive word to throw around, but it's very true. I mean the
yeah,
same with micromanaging. Like God forbid you call your manager a micromanager.
oh, oh, Jesus, I wouldn't. And I told you it's near to me because I have a story to tell, and some people know it,
Mhm.
but when you put a lot of years into a company, and then a micromanager comes into your workplace, so what happens is they've been a micromanager before, and there's a reason why because they move around on a lot of jobs. you'll see a lot of them in top positions, but they will go to different places. And what they do is when they come in, they like to, study your staff, check them out, even if you've been there for 10 years, 5 years, whatever. And then they want to do it their way. There's one way they want to do it, and it's their way. It really starts to get to you because that person is right on your back. And I don't know if you've had someone like that that's just even a friend or anything that's it's like nagging at you. You know how to do your job, but this person might want you to do it in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
And
how long was it before you started realizing that this could be a micromanager?
Oh, wow. 6-7 months. That fast, because I knew.
See, I don't think that's fast. I think that's a long time to realize. I think, you were giving benefit of the doubt to your manager and you wanted to establish trust and build that relationship.
Correct.
And you thought that you were simply just doing your job until you started seeing the negative effects probably that it had on you and realizing, okay, I might be dealing with them.
Well, a lot of them, one of the biggest thing our micromanager cannot do is they cannot stop running their mouth. I'm very vocal towards this, but they run their mouth.
Yeah.
So that means they like to be able to tell other employees something about that person. Oh, don't worry. We'll get him or we'll get her. They run their mouth, and that's what causes some of the issues because same thing. Listen, employees talk, and it get in an office environment, and I know you've been in them, it gets back to, it's that rumors. There's those damn rumors that come right back at you.
Right.
And it can, when you start hearing it secondhand, that's the hardest part because you're like, what? Why would they say something like that? What did I do to this person? Or what did I do to deserve that? And there's some of the signs. We're going to go for more. Let's see what we have here. Rob, here's Kenny. He's going to be going. I guess I'm going to learn a lot. LinkedIn user. Yes, you will tonight. We're going to go over a lot of stuff. I wonder if micromanagers do what they do because they're under pressure for strict timeline, playing devil's advocate.
I love a little devil's advocate game. I was thinking the same thing too, because I definitely think that exists, but I think a good manager also does a really good job of delegating tasks and using strengths to delegate tasks. And so if there is a strict timeline, I think that there's other methods to go about it. I think that where a lot of the root of why micromanagers are the way they are is at the core of it, a lack of trust in maybe where they're supposed to be. Maybe they feel vulnerable, or they don't have a sense of clarity or reassurance that they're supposed to be there. Like they might not feel good enough for their job, or they just have trust issues in general with delegating those tasks to their employees and allowing for different opinions and other methods to approach a project. I can't help but think of like startup companies that someone is bringing a product up from the very beginning and struggling to kind of give that baby away to help grow it.
It is, and I believe what he's saying there too is I get it. They are under pressure. Managers, let's face it, if you're a top manager, you're under pressure regardless, right? And a strict timeline. But if you take it out on your team, like some of the things that a micromanager would take away from you is discourage your independent decision making. So what happens is you really have your ideas, right, that have worked. But the micromanagers like, no, we're not going to do it that way no more. Okay. All right. You're the boss, right? So then you have to change the way you're doing it. You might be thinking, okay, that's the first time. Then all of a sudden, well, this is the way we do this. Well, no, I don't think we're going to do it that way no more. We're going to try it this way. We're going to do it this way. That's where you start to say to yourself, like, wow, who's in charge? You're the manager and you're being micromanaged. That they're the kind of like the little signs, they'll want to be copied on every email.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's everywhere. I copy every email. The time that it takes to do stuff like this, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm. That, I mean, the copying onto emails, I've seen. Um, yeah, I mean, just like you said, not allowing other opinions to get in the way.
Yeah.
Facts, they don't let it. Yeah, they don't. I used to. My partner had a micromanager in the past. No names, no companies. I'm
Ah,
not saying anything.
no, no,
And what I would hear in the other room on their calls was that this micromanager would not stop talking. And so much so that he had him on the phone for, gosh, like hours a day, to the point where he wasn't able to do his own job.
do the job.
It was like sabotaging his skill.
And that's where it starts. That's the beginning. That's
Mhm.
the beginning time. Micromanagers run their mouth.
Sounds
Sorry.
like someone knows.
Look, I had to put that in my notes. Run mouth, because that's what happens, and then the rumors get back to you. And then when rumors start, everybody in the office starts. Crystal
Mhm.
says that a lack of trust or a sense of insecurity right there.
Both, yeah.
Both. You know what? They also said micromanagers have OCD problems. Now I have OCD problems. But you think,
Interesting.
it is. OCD is part. A lot of micromanagers have that. And if you think about that, they like things done certain ways, all the time. Just that's the way it is. You know,
Mhm. That makes sense. Yeah.
but the sense of insecurity, that I believe a lot.
Right. At some core belief in their mentality, there's something in there saying, I cheated my way here, or like I'm too mean to these people to deserve this role, or just something along the lines of that. I 1000% agree with that. And so,
Yep.
I mean, even when dealing with a micromanager, I think that the first thing to look for is the why behind their
Oh,
being that way.
I like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's different ways to approach it, but I feel like what you could do the most of is do the work on your own, see, kind of be the more mature person in this scenario, and look at that person and ask, what could they be suffering from internally? What was their last job like? Maybe did they have a micromanager there? Maybe were they raised in an upbringing that was incredibly strict?
Yep.
There's so many different possibilities. And then once you do that, I would also try to just kind of beat them to it. Like, beat them to that deadline, beat them, what they're going to ask already, answer it before they do, build that trust. And then, once you're safe,
Now you're
open
safe.
up to that. Yeah. Open up to that conversation and be like, like this is really a struggle for me. But, at least you'd have the empathy there to go into that
You know,
conversation, knowing there's an insecurity.
I think when I was going through it, and part of my story is I let it get to me to where it affected my health.
Mm-hmm.
It was affecting my health. It was affecting my family life.
Mm-hmm.
It was affecting all my friendships. It was
Mm-hmm.
affecting my performance. And I say that respectively, and I'm just being honest tonight, is when you start to go through problems with a micromanager, there's things, oh God, would I have done things different? I think I only did what I understood, what I could do, because I was afraid of losing my job. And when you're afraid of, that was the only thing negative out of the whole thing was, oh my God, I can lose my job. Now you're talking my family, life insurance. I mean, your insurance is everything. Does that make
Right.
sense there? You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
That's the
absolutely.
worst thing that can happen, is you're going to lose your job. So I think that's what holds people back
Mm-hmm.
from not doing anything. But I believe if I had to go through that all again, I would go, you need to go to the next level, or nip it in the butt. And I say that is, you can have a one-on-one conversation. I really believe if I was having problems with you and you came in and I'm going through, you're on me, you're having me do different things, you're having to make me stay over late. I think I've evolved enough to sit down and say, hey, can we talk?
Mm-hmm.
Is there something that I don't trust? You don't trust me? Am I not doing my job correctly? What would you like to see? And I think you said it before about staying ahead,
Yeah. Yeah.
staying ahead of the person. If that's what I believe you said,
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
you
I'm
know,
that's kinda good, I guess.
Kenny, you always microwaves. So then would it be safe to say micromanagers could possibly suffer from imposter syndrome?
I love it. Yeah. I
That's
think that could definitely be a possibility. If it's not
what
trust in others, I think it could definitely be imposter syndrome.
what's the imposter syndrome? Am I
Im-
missing something?
Imposter syndrome is when you don't believe you are someone. So, um, let me give an example. So,
I'm trying to think.
I get into like a top athlete program and I
Okay.
don't feel like I'm good and I'm trying every day to work hard and fake it till I make it. But at the end of the day, I'm so upset because I
Oh,
don't feel like
gotcha.
I'm good enough.
Gotcha. That makes total sense. Okay.
Yeah.
See,
Hmm.
I'm not afraid to say I don't know. I'm like imposter syndrome.
No,
I'm not going to
yeah,
answer that one. I'm
absolutely.
glad you did.
That's what we're here for. Yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely think it's the part of the imposter syndrome there.
No, Kenny, I
I
have
have,
so many arguments.
kind of better with yourself. So it's happening with yourself rather than your colleagues and your managers. So,
Yeah. Vishnu says, do you think would work from home remote situation micromanagement has doubled? Wow. That's a good question. You know,
hmm,
nobody knew what was going on when it happened anyway. Let's face it. When COVID, everybody had to start working from home. I'm going to say, I don't know the full answer to that because
yeah.
I didn't have to manage anybody from home. So I don't
Hmm.
know what they did as managers. And Vishnu, that's a great question.
It is. It's interesting because people like I knew someone who was remote, and this micromanager that they had over them all the time was doing this over the computer, over the phone, and even that caused so much mayhem in his personal life.
Right.
But then there's other cases where I hear about so many incredible situations working remote where the managers are just asking how their day is going, and they
Wow.
go on their merry way. So I
I
I
don't
I
know.
can't say it goes one way or
Yeah.
the other because I've heard, to be honest, I feel like I've heard more positive
Yeah.
scenarios
So
than
bye.
I've been hearing. Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to. That's a good question. That's a good one to research. It's because let's face it. Once you're a micromanager, you're always a micromanager. Normally, past behavior is future
Interesting.
behavior. I learned that from Dr. Phil.
We should bring him on next week.
This ain't my first rodeo. Yeah, this ain't my first rodeo. Or past behavior is future, but it's true. Past behavior is future.
Mhm.
And you know what? There's when I was reading a lot on this, and it's okay to have a little bit of micromanagement in you. There's nothing wrong with that. You
All in
know,
balance. Yeah, I agree.
you got to balance it because you like the other guest said, you are responsible and you're held to a timeline. So a little bit of micromanagement can be beneficial to both because let's face it, that person got that job because they know what they're doing, you
Mhm.
know. So and sometimes they don't want to show you something. They want to keep that edge like, hey, I know how to do this.
Ah, yeah, keep the edge. I like that.
They want to keep it. That's what I do in my job interviews. Joel, fake it till I make it.
Yep.
Jeez. Joel, that's imposter syndrome. There they go. That'll be good, but not a micromanager. Um, one thing I will say is, and this is serious. If somebody's going through this, and you feel that boss is on you, documentate, 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 because that's what they're doing. A micromanager is writing down every time that he's told you to do something. He's writing down every email that he
Mhm.
sent out. He has them in a special folder. That micromanager will take you out on a ride and might be talking to you on a lunch. And, you know, he has that recorded down because then when you're in that meeting and they bring these things up to you, you're hit cold because you don't have anything back to come out and say, if it's not your fault, but you want to document things that you see go on. If somebody's starting rumors, hey, listen, write it down. On this date, this was said. This date, I heard that they told me to do this. They're assigning me new assignments that I've never done before. They will do
Mm.
anything. Here's a word that I hate. Have you ever heard of manage them out? Manage them out. You ever heard of that?
No, no.
Manage them out is just to where I've learned is you'll have some managers come to you and says, just manage the person out. What do you mean? Manage the person out. You put pressure, so much pressure on that employee to where they're going to make them want to quit. That's what that means. And I was told to do that sometimes. And I'm just being honest. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
evolved. I've learned a lot through the career that I've been in. Is if I ever hear someone says that to me again, manage them out, I would go right to HR on that part. I would not tolerate that because that is not
Wow.
fair. Manage them out. And I've watched them take some employees out. And with a micromanager, you lose a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of your staff will go. The good ones. You look back, you're like, whoa, what happened to this person? Oh, they're gone. What
Yeah.
happened to this person? They're gone.
Yeah.
They're the kind of things that, and you can tell I take it personally with that, but you really have to, if it's not your fault, and you really feel that, listen, you've been with a company for 5 to 10 years. What's going on here? Don't be afraid.
Right.
Don't be afraid, because a good human resources department has to be 50-50. They have to be their equal partner.
See, I think that's really reassuring for people to hear too, because a lot of the times people are so afraid to approach HR, but like,
Right.
reminding yourself that, they're supposed to defend both sides and have awareness of each side.
And it helped. Let me tell you, when you go to the human resources, again, I told you that little saying that Chris, it's like they don't know it's broken so they can fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, once that person get called in, and then you have that conversation, that tough conversation, and maybe, just maybe, by having that tough conversation, you're going to feel a lot better.
Oh, absolutely.
Because that
I
can
think
push
it's just tough to I think it's tough to just get to that point and, get over those fears of possibly losing your job or, I
Yes.
think having those documents ready or
Yes.
keeping track of things that were said will help build that confidence. But
Yep.
it's a tough spot to get to.
It is. Some people, we got comments here.
Yeah, let's see.
Is there some special requirements to become a micromanager, or is it some management that just covers micro issues? I personally feel it's overemphasized sometimes. A micromanager can come from different things. I believe the OCD part. I believe on how they were raised, like you said, that in a strict environment.
Mm-hmm.
Our military, our family's total military. All right. I like things done a certain way. I like things more organized than some people do. And that sometimes can be against me, but sometimes it can really help. So I don't think there's a special requirement. I think it's just in you.
I would agree with that. Yeah. I think it's something that's deeply rooted either in like we've been saying in the trust or in the insecurity issues.
Yeah.
And yeah, unfortunately, also what you said, once a micromanager, kind of always a micromanager. I mean, I believe people
Yeah.
can change, but I think that takes some really deep reflection.
It does.
And maybe it takes an employee to kind of stand up to them and be honest with them, like we were saying.
There is. And when he says, I personally feel it's overemphasized, I don't, unless I think when you go through it, that's when you'll realize if you've ever worked for one, because there's a lot of things here. Like they, like here, for example, they ask for frequent updates constantly all day long. They want updates, copied on every email. Every task needs their approval. Like you might have been able to do things before, but now all of a sudden you have to get the approval. Okay, you know what? It takes time and time. Increases employee turnover. They sweat the small stuff. You love editing employee work.
I just feel like that's they just want they thrive off of making their employees feel inferior or
right.
not good enough, and that's where that whole editing part comes off from.
Crystal knows what this is. Managing out can be as retaliation. Thank you, Crystal. And she's probably heard that before. Not many people have. And when you learn that, I knew it was wrong. I did. I knew it was wrong in my head. Like I thought about it. I was like, wow, that's bad. What gives a company or a person a right to be able to say, let's manage that person out? That is just not being a good leader, like we talked about before. Mm-hmm. A good leader, I don't think, needs to do something like that.
Agreed.
And that, again, tough conversation is what can probably put an end to a lot of it. At least alleviate some of the pain of that part.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
that's sometimes the most difficult thing to come across. Well, I feel like if I was a hiring manager, I feel like I would be seeking out people who are willing to ask the tough questions, who are willing to have those tough conversations, because that's just something you don't find nowadays. I mean, there is also, I can see that there would be a risk, and maybe they are, more confident to say things to people's faces as far as like how things should be run. But I
right?
really think that wouldn't be the case as much. I think that the benefits outweigh the cons there.
No, you're right. People don't quit jobs; they quit bad management, and we talked about that before.
Yes. Yeah, and you know what I also really believe is that people don't quit jobs also because of bad management, but really when they don't feel specifically appreciated in that job.
Yeah,
If you're making, a low salary, but you are appreciated beyond belief, and you're recognized every day, and you're respected amongst your colleagues and your managers, then
right.
those people aren't looking for new jobs. That's
No,
just, at the end of the day, that's hands down what it is.
that's what it is. And
Mhm,
Joel came back, and oh, I'm sorry, here we missed one here. Gaurav Kumar said exactly.
mhm.
I'm gonna. How do you pronounce that name? I'm gonna let you do it.
Hmm. Gaurav, I'm gonna guess.
All right. Well, you hope you
We'll
got it right. We're gonna
see.
see. Joel said the military in the older days bred micromanagement in the lower NCO ranks. If a troop messed up, it's your responsibility. And Joel, I agree 1,000. That's
Mhm,
I was, in the NCO ranks, and that's what that was. Um, the military, to an extent, is just totally different there, but it still came back. But it all comes down to the leadership and how you
mhm,
treat people. If you don't want to delegate your jobs anymore and you start giving them to other people, um, and then you start, I don't know, when a person would come to a meeting like a micromanager and you're all there, you can feel the tense. You're all sitting there in that meeting and there's 5 or 6 of you, and something's wrong with that person. You can just tell by their body language they're upset.
mhm.
And everybody knows the reason why. It's like that elephant in the room. You know why, but
Right.
you
So
just
unfortunate.
and it sets the team apart to where that's where rumors I told you before, how they start doing that, and before you know it, that person's gone. They're
Mhm.
gone. Let's see,
So
people.
let me ask you too, with Joel's statement there. Do you think that there is anything in the micromanager situation to learn from a military point of view?
Yeah, I listen. I'm glad you asked that, Joel. If you agree with me, I believe it all comes down to teamwork. That one
Mm,
word, teamwork, and your leader. Your leader is there for a reason. And I told you before that you need some kind of micromanagement, and that would be, the military was you did what you were told,
mhm.
but you were allowed to speak up if you didn't agree, but you still did it anyway. You had to do it. But I believe, that I agree with him. And the
Mhm.
military is, I think it would be good for some people. You
Oh,
know,
yeah. Yeah, I have so
um,
much respect for that.
people quit people.
People could,
That's true.
yeah,
Some are by nature.
agreed. Yep.
Okay. Oh, here's the part. I was struggling with the same, so I made a structure letting my employees manage each other, not eliminating me complete, but seriously saved a lot of time. Let me read that again. I was struggling
Oh,
with the same, so I made a structure letting my employees manage each other, not eliminating me completely, but seriously saved a lot of time. Wow. Hmm.
that's so interesting. I'd come across, after doing some research on the topic too. I saw a structure idea the same way, about how a manager chose to post on a wall or wherever it was in the office everyone's responsibilities, including themselves, including the manager, so that everyone knew that the communication was clear, and that the manager was included in the responsibilities. Like they were on the same level basically as the team. And I thought that that was something that would really bring a lot of accountability to a team. And
Okay.
it was just something just very clear. There are no shadows to be like questioned,
Right.
or questions coming up with that, because it was just right there. And so I wonder if that's just kind of similar. If to me it kind of seems like it was intertwined, like the management, the responsibilities were intertwined. So that's a really
That is.
interesting structure. I've never thought of that.
Yeah, because if he's saying that he knows he's a micromanager in a way, 'cause
Huh.
that's what I'm saying, thinking, and then letting them manage each other. but not eliminating him completely, because the saved a lot of time is because your trust. We said that before. It all comes down to trust, you know. And they said, there you go. Yep. You know, and that's poor. Thanks. I'm not going to say his name. I can't pronounce it. Guvar.
I could be wrong too.
Yeah. But you know, and that subject there again saves a lot of time. You know, some people, you know, the worst thing you can do when you're working with a micromanager is tit for tat. And that's listen, I mean, and that's where you're going to start doing things to irritate that person. And you could be that's not the right thing to do either. Not saying I didn't do a little bit of it, but what I mean by that is you have to let it go. You know, if you don't confront, and if I ever had to go through this again, I would confront the issue head on right away, or I would leave the company if something wasn't going to right, because there was no way in hell that I would ever put myself through that before, because I love the company. I've loved every company I've worked for. I've never had a bad employer. Never. I love them all. And I will say that it's like you said, it's the people. That one person is not the company, but that one person can change your whole life.
Isn't that insane?
And that's what happens, you know, but maybe you're just egging them on by coming in late. Yeah, screw it. You know, I'm going to come in late. That's not good to do. You know what I mean? Tip for tat, because it only makes that person irritated. And then before you know it, you're going down that wrong path. David, can you teach us how to deal with employees who get personal for no reason? Should we fire them? Sometimes it ruins the work culture and environment. Can you teach us how to deal with employees who get personal for no reason? Should we fire them? Sometimes it ruins the work culture and environment. Do you mean personal?
I think, yeah, I would say like personal attacks. Maybe I'm thinking even like gossipy, or just commenting on how they're working, or
okay.
you know, fighting the standard.
No. I would take them right through a process. You know, your company has to have a process for bullying anything. You know, there's no thing. So I would come up with a plan on, if you have these kind of problems, what do you want to do? You're going to have that first stage to where you're going to have that verbal. Maybe you're going to talk it out. Let's just talk it. I've heard rumors this. I've heard rumors this. That second one is more of a, you know, kind of like a written, you know, now we're in a meeting. This is what's happening. What's going on? Or what can we do? Come up with a plan. Because it's not what I've learned. This evolve word's always in my head. Is it's not always. It can be a learning situation. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be all the time a negative meeting. You can bring these conversations up, tough conversations, and actually resolve it in a professional way, and both of you feel better. You know, I think a pressure would be off of you. If you were my manager on me, I think, wow, I can breathe. Wow, this person, I'm not going to do that. But I think what he's saying there too is, you know, should we fire them? Naturally, that does the work culture environment if that gets around. But I think it comes down to the leadership and just getting that hard conversations.
Yeah, and I appreciate that you don't go straight to the firing either. That you know, there is a process to be followed, and to give the benefit of the doubt always with that employee.
And then they'll either change. Listen, if you don't change, if they're giving you all the tools, now, because as a leader, you're going to give that person all the tools, you know, to give them. It's your responsibility, because if you sit back and allow that, that's the worst, because you are allowing that to happen. And that upper manager, that next level, should be notified, because that can change the whole dynamics. You know, thanks. I appreciate that.
Great.
But that's a tough, you know, again, you set your own tone in the company.
Yeah, absolutely. How long do you think that it takes to establish that tone? Do you think that's something like the first day or in the first few months?
Training. Because once you get into your training classes, once you're hired on, that's probably the last thing you ever hear about it. You never really have meetings that much anymore about these subjects. They need to be in a group, whether it's virtual, let's all talk about what can happen. Have an open door policy. You need that open door policy with HR. Like you said before, you don't want to be afraid to go to HR. I was afraid. Why was I afraid? Because you could lose your job. Was I afraid because I had health problems? Was I afraid because I didn't choose? You know what I mean?
Wow. That's saying something.
It is. And that's where the whole thing came down to, is losing your job. You were afraid. That's it. Besides having a normal conversation. Now, am I happy the way things work? Yeah. I mean, again, I call it evolving through my career. I've had stories. There's a lot of people with worse stories than this. A micromanager can really take that morale, of a meeting and
just throw it out the window, crush it.
Throw it out the window, and it's negative. And that's my best advice for anybody, because if you don't, you lose a lot of top talent. And I'm sure you might not have experienced that for yourself, but you've seen it. Or your friends have called you and complaining. And a lot of it can be taken care of with just that, again, conversation. And
what would you say to someone who's nervous about losing their job with that conversation, or just having nerves about being honest and open with their manager?
I would say to the person is, okay, you're going to lose your family. Is it worth that? Is it going to lose your family life, divorce? Is it going to lose your health to where you're taking blood pressure medicine? Is it going to lose your health because you could have a heart attack? Because you could, everything suffers. You've lost friends. You've lost this. You're an angry person. So what wins there?
Wow.
So think about that. If you don't want to have that conversation, well, live the other way. Live that way, and then just live with it. Some people like micromanagement. Listen, you can just
think so?
Back. Yeah, because you can just sit back and just let the boss do it all. Okay, what do you do?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, you can feed into them. You can feed into that micromanager and just be like, so what the answer is. So what do you think we should do this? Yes. Okay, good.
Oh my, I've never thought about it that way. So you could probably easily flip the conversation around with that micromanager.
Flip it around, make that person so high to where he's going to walk around, he or she's going to walk around and say, I like that damn Dave. I like that damn Dave.
That's so funny.
Drill instructors the first month are the perfect.
Oh, wow. Actually, that's a really interesting example.
It is.
I appreciate that.
And they're right. He's totally right on that. And, but no, I mean, wow, 38 minutes. We're almost done. Wow.
I know you've shared so much too. This was such a personal story for you, and I'm sure it's going to help so many people. It's such a sensitive topic, and it needs to be talked about.
And like I said, on my closing again is go to the HR department. Think about your family. Think about your health. Think about HR or your boss. Reach out to colleagues. Talk to them. What do you think I should do? Talk to that next boss level. If they're good management, they're not going to, I would look back. I would have changed a couple of things the way I did it. I wouldn't have let it go on all so long, because as you let something drag on longer, it just can dig at you. And the only thing I can say is it made me grow, and then I can teach people that if they're going through it, I would just walk them right through it, and again, think of your family. And if HR doesn't know that it's broke, they can't fix it.
Very true. Yeah, they could be completely unaware of the issue.
Yep.
I'd be very curious to see, the people in the comments too, their experiences with micromanagers, how they got out of it or how they're feeling. It's there's so many different situations out there.
It is. Well, I'll tell you what, I spent all these notes. People that I write trees. All right, I use a lot of trees, and I don't even think I talked about 3/4 of the stuff that I had on here.
It's
Got it.
intense. Well, all right. So part 2 next week.
Yeah, we're gonna be back next Wednesday. So, but would you like to end something on that about it, or?
I think that you are so wise in this area and have so much to say. I mean, if it's okay with you, I would
Yeah,
encourage people to even reach out to you and just
yeah,
you're such a big help in this area. It is so sensitive and it
yeah.
causes so much mayhem in someone's life. And so I'm just for anyone dealing with it currently, I'm thinking of you. I'm praying for the best, and please don't
Mhm.
hesitate to reach out if Dave or I can support you in any way.
Yeah. But again, everybody, thank you, and thank you as always. And we'll be back Wednesday night, next Wednesday.
We'll be there.
We'll be here Wednesday, and we're doing some great topics, and we're going to make some great new videos. If you have a certain topic that you want to talk about, please shoot one of us a direct message. And
Mhm.
if you'd like to be a guest on the show and you have some kind of value, a story you want to share, reach out. Doesn't hurt. So on that note, I'll talk to you right after this. Have a great night, everybody.